Hi guys, it's Sean here from digiDirect. Today we're going to be taking a look at the hottest new DJI release, the Ronin-S. Now this is a handheld gimbal unit in the vein of the Ronin or the Ronin-M, although this one is a single handle unit, not a dual handle unit like those other ones. It has a lot of buzz around it. We've had people asking about it ever since it was announced. It's got a lot of nice bells and whistles, it's pretty affordably priced, and it's very clear that DJI is able to make a good gimbal at this point. They've proven that already, so that's the reason why we've seen a lot of excitement around it so far. We're going to talk about all the features and how it works and so on. We'll start by looking at the design and then we'll discuss how to operate it. So to start, the Ronin-S comes in this excellent case. It's not quite a full plastic hard case, but it does do a very good job at protecting the unit, makes it a lot easier to transport it. Once we crack it open, the unit is in a few different pieces here. We've got the main gimbal assembly here where you're going to mount the camera, and we also have our controls on here. We've got the main grip, which also doubles as the battery, which by the way has a 12-hour battery life, which is very impressive. Lastly, there's a tripod foot that you can put on here. You don't have to use this, although I usually would. It does give you a second place to hold the camera at when you're hand holding it, and it allows you to set it down. When mounting the camera, you attach the plate to the bottom of the camera, slide it into the gimbal. You do some quick balancing. There's a number of ports across the unit which are helpful for expansion and accessories. We've got some data ports, power ports here, accessory ports on the side for a bunch of accessories that we're going to be seeing soon. The last thing that I'll say about the build quality of the unit is that it is extremely high. The feel of this unit is very premium. The grip feels fantastic. It's got a nice, slightly rubberized touch to it. The metal of the gimbal arm is very high end. Overall, a fantastic build quality on the Ronin-S. Okay, so how does the unit actually work? So once I've got it all powered on and balanced, the gimbal motors here are going to keep my camera nice and steady. So as I move around here, it's going to follow my movement, but in a very steady and smooth fashion. Now, in that way, it's actually very similar to the Osmo, its younger brother, also by DJI. That's a much smaller version that has its own built-in camera, but the principles are still the same. So as I turn around, it's going to follow my movements. It does have a trigger at the front here, so if I hold that trigger, it's actually going to ignore my movement. So it's going to keep the camera pointing in one direction as I move around to different angles. This is very handy if you want to be moving, but you want to keep the camera focused in one direction. If the camera is off-center, I can double tap that trigger, and it's going to recenter it and put it straight ahead. If I tap it 3 times, it's going to spin the camera around and put it into selfie mode here. So I can do some kind of vlogging selfies, although I'll be honest, that was more useful on the Osmo. On the Ronin-S, the weight of this unit is a lot heavier. Even holding it at arm's length right now for this short period of time, my arm is starting to go. So I don't think you'll be doing too much of this, but the functionality is there if you want. So I can press double tap again to put it forward. We've got some controls on the back here as well. So I've got a joystick here, which I can just use to aim the control of the camera. And I have a mode dial here. So you'll see that we've got 3 different modes here. I can use the mode dials to switch between these presets. And these presets I can totally customize. You can go into the Ronin app, the associated app, and tweak all these different presets. You can adjust how sensitive each setting is. If I hold the mode button in, the light's going to turn yellow here, and this is now putting it into sports mode, which means it's going to react a lot faster to my movements. So I can do kind of like whip pans and faster movements and so on. So if you're shooting like action, you're running around, you might want to be in sports mode. Now we've got 2 controls here that are going to depend on your camera brand a little bit. So you've got a record button here. You'll notice that I have a cable plugged in from the unit into my GH5 here. Now it comes with a couple different cables for a couple different cameras. Canon, Sony will also work along with Panasonic. So when I've got that plugged in, I can press this record button, start and stop recording, so I don't need to touch anything on the camera itself. However, I also have a follow focus unit here, which means I can control the focusing of my lens here right from here. I don't have to touch the lens at all. That's super handy. Now that follow focus functionality specifically, right now it only works with Panasonic cameras. So my GH5, the GH line of Panasonic cameras. So basically your GH5, GH5S. Doesn't work with Sony and Canon yet. I've been told that DJI is working with these brands to try and get improved functionality, so hopefully we see that in the future. So for example, right now I'm shooting with a 20mm lens at f1.7, which is super shallow. Well, let's give it a shot here. If I move closer to my camera here, see how I can do with the focus. So as I get closer, I'm going to use the follow focus here to try and keep it in focus. Like I said, I'm at f1.7, so I might not do the best job. But see how I can just pretty seamlessly use the follow focus here. Just does a really, really good job if you want to be changing the focus on the fly as you get closer and further away from your subjects. I really, really like that. So yeah, I can try and keep that. Oh, I'm going a little bit too far here. There we go. So you can see that the follow focus I think is really fantastic, and I really hope they expand the functionality for that in the future because it's really, really nice. Another really nice feature about the design is that you'll see this gimbal motor is actually lower. The camera is above that. Most other handheld gimbal stabilizers have this motor right here, so it's directly blocking the screen of the camera. In this one, it's not, so I can clearly see the back screen of my camera, even if I didn't have a camera that could flip out to the side with the screen. Now, all of these features don't matter too much if the quality of the stabilization coming from the Ronin-S is not high, but thankfully that's not the case. The quality of the footage coming out of this unit is fantastic. It looks gorgeous. It's like a professional level stabilizer. Absolutely, it looks really, really fantastic. I wasn't concerned about that going into it because the previous Ronins have been fantastic, but happy to report the stabilization quality is excellent on the Ronin-S. It looks amazing. One thing I will say about the Ronin-S is that it is not particularly light. That's the trade-off of the higher build quality, right? Having this high quality metal and the big grip here does add to the weight. The trade-off there though is that the payload is very high on this unit. It has a payload of 3.6 kilograms, which is quite a lot, meaning you can basically put almost any camera you want on here. Certainly any DSLR mirrorless camera is going to fit on here no problem. You can even fit some larger rigs like maybe a C200 with maybe a lighter lens on the front. Another thing I haven't touched on much yet is the app. So there is a Ronin app for Android and iPhone. You don't have to use it. However, if you do use the app, you do get some extra functionality. I already mentioned how you program the settings in here, the presets if you like. You can tweak that with the app. You can also program panoramas, time-lapse, motion-lapse. I can also use the app like a joystick. Something that comes across pretty clearly when you're looking at the Ronin-S is that DJI is planning on a lot of expandability with this unit. I touched on already earlier the accessory ports, the power ports. DJI is definitely planning on releasing a lot of accessories so you can expand and customize your unit to use it in a variety of applications. So the last thing I'll touch on here about the Ronin-S is the price. The price is surprisingly affordable. So here in Australia, it's about $1,100 Australian. That's only $100 more than its closest competitor, the Xeon Crane 2. I think that's fantastic. You know, $1,100 is not nothing. It's still an investment, of course, but it's within the realm that, you know, a hobby shooter can do this, a one-man operation. This is not going to only be showing up in professional settings. Anyone can really get their hands on this if they want to. DJI have done a very good job and a competitive job on the pricing of this, so I'm really happy to see that on this unit. Now, it is going to be out very, very shortly. You can order it on our website at www.digidirect.com.au, or you can come to one of our stores. We have stores in the Sydney CBD, Bondi Junction, Miranda, the Brisbane and Melbourne CBD, and Cannington, Western Australia, which is just outside the Cannington CBD, just by Westfield Carousel. Thanks, guys. Take care.